Chapter 5. The Kingdom of Pineal. Livety, Health, Wellbeing. The Kingdom of Pineal philosophy of health and well-being is founded on a holistic approach based on the syncretization of various streams of knowledge. The Pineal philosophy of life is fundamentally based on the premises of being open-minded, using scientific discernment, and spiritual intuition. Perspective tolerance is highly encouraged. No question or thought is ever considered too far outside scope. However, all thought processes must always be treated with proportionate measures of respect and balance with the kingdom of pineal tenets and laws. No philosophical theory, concept, or idea must ever be established, only accepted as a measure of perspective. This is to avoid any room for dogma. All pineal philosophical perspectives must always be viewed and treated with heart, honor to the earth, in abundance with respect, and in trust of goodwill for all that is truth. The kingdom of pineal defines spirituality as a philosophy of growth, change, benevolence, compassion, and expansion. This is what we might call enlightenment, the ability to be understanding of a more inclusive, interconnected perspective on life. Our spiritual philosophy entails the willingness and ability to see a world view or world experience of self-improvement, with a focus on awareness of the greater whole. Spirituality is a path of understanding and growth. We, as sentient beings, have the power to become more than we were. We have the choice to look out at the world with its imperfections and imbalances, and have the choice to nurture peace within our own hearts, to go beyond simply understanding the meaning of the word compassion, but to also embody and enact it. As the mind opens to an enlightened perspective, we become sensitive to vibrations emanating from our surroundings. We notice how environments color our mood. When one walks through a forest or bathes in a clear river, in natural open spaces, life seems complete, nurturing, and rejuvenating. One feels less compelled to numb themselves with worldly material distractions. The kingdom of pineal defines health and well-being as the aspiration to achieve and maintain optimal quality of life as a human being. We believe that this can only be achieved by embracing a holistic approach to how we observe, relate, react, and maintain a well-balanced mental, spiritual, and physical state of being. As the health and well-being of the custodians of the kingdom of pineal are of central importance, we promote natural ways of healing above allopathic ways of healing. Our natural ways of healing include several holistic modalities, which have proven to be beneficial and enhance the natural physical tendencies of the body to heal itself. We call this the Aurora approach. Acknowledge, understand, research, action. Acknowledge. When there is a disturbance in the balance of our being, the first step is to acknowledge what and where the root of this imbalance is. Understand. The next step, to understand the root of how and why this imbalance has occurred. Research. Once we acknowledge and understand the root cause of our imbalance, the next natural step is for us to find possible modalities of how best to restore balance in the most natural way possible. Action. The final step is to take appropriate remedial actions. There are many health-related remedial modalities observed worldwide. However, the kingdom of pineal particularly observes 3 core healing practices: fasting, detox; diet, restore; herbalism, rehabilitation. We have observed that for optimal healing, these 3 practices must be put into action cohesively. Earth reminds us to slow down and return to a simple existence in harmony with the rhythms of life and death. Because no matter how fast we run, we cannot escape the law of physical impermanence. In accordance with the law of cause and effect, we sense ripples of even the most subtle thoughts and actions. Past intentions have led to current conditions, and the present mind creates the future. Positive outcomes result from practicing kindness, compassion, forgiveness, generosity, and joy. Dire consequences follow when we scatter seeds of greed, anger, hatred, fear, and arrogance. When we recognize the repercussions of past deeds, we become careful about the energies we transmit. Our life is a result of every seed planted since the creation of the universe. This is also known as karma. When we see ourselves and others, we treat everyone the way we want to be treated. We may even sacrifice our own pleasure for the sake of others. By forgetting about ourselves, we gain freedom. Service to self versus service to others. Our guiding principle becomes to abide as a source of happiness for others. Throughout our lifetimes, as we grow and develop, we replace and increase the energies of our different bodies through the lights and sounds we absorb, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the foods we eat. On top of that, we can consciously increase those energies through meditation and other mindful practices. Mastering self-awareness through practices like meditation unlocks our creative barriers. We begin to see the limitless potential of the world, along with our ability to create the life of health and well-being that we desire. Without a doubt, we believe meditation is the best way to understand our inner circuitry, as it allows us to go deep within our mind for rehabilitative solace. Meditation allows us to access subconscious levels of mind and thoughts we are otherwise oblivious to in our mundane state of being. The old adage, know thyself, is the most precise key to unlocking our path to self-mastery. And meditation is the door to ascending to the highest mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual heights of health and well-being. Meditation helps us to quiet down and deactivate the stressful parts of our being, thus allowing our bodies to continue operating optimally. We believe meditation is the very best technique for optimal mind-body self-healing. Tantra, yantra, mantra. Tantra is the conscious practice of rendering the mundane and profane actions we perform in the world into sacred actions through focusing one's consciousness totally on the task at hand and seeing each and everyone and everything as an emanating of the divine. Actions and relationships considered taboo, sinful, or unclear by conventional society are transformed by ritual and stated intent to be sacred actions and divine associations. Yantra and mantra are the means of doing that. Yantra means a tool, device, or machine. That is, something that aids one in an activity or a work. Mantra is a sound vibration inherent in everything and everyone. Each god or goddess has his or her individual mantra, which is chanted to invoke the divine energy symbolized by the particular deity. A yantra is usually a geometric diagram which metaphysically provides a location or a place for the energy invoked by the mantra to manifest for the task at hand, or the task for which the energy has been called for. The mantra is the energy, is the deity, and the repetition of the mantra harmonizes and tunes the individual chanting the mantra to the source of the energy, which is the divinity. The yantra is used to contain the mantra energy of the divine within a diagram. This enables the energy to be used for the purpose of the intoner. Pineal Livety, culture of compassion. If killing other beings for consumption is ethically, morally, and physically unnecessary, it is then your duty as an intelligent, compassionate, sentient being to acknowledge that no such being should ever be enslaved as a piece of property, raised for a fraction of his or her natural lifespan, and then taken to be killed, butchered, and consumed by other beings who simply enjoy the flavor of their flesh. Many will argue that death and killing are part of nature. They are the way the world is. Of course, death and dying are part of our world. However, if unnecessary death and killing can be reduced or completely stopped, why would any civilized society not strive for this? Unnecessary suffering and killing also causes greater harm to the symbiotic balance of our world and to human health physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's not about choosing a perfect option. No such option exists, and death will occur. However, natural death is nature's way of balancing the cycle of life. Killing is not natural. Intelligent being is about choosing a better option. Nonviolence and compassion are the best moral options. Another spiritual reason for not harming or consuming other beings like animals is to avoid unbalancing our human spiritual consciousness with the energetic vibrations of the animal being ingested. When a human being eats another being like an animal, both beings become one being. The human being has not just ingested the body of the animal, but also the energetic vibrations of that animal, its consciousness, as well as the animal's hormones, its emotions. You are what you eat. Think of the tremendous fear, stress, and anxiety a being like an animal experiences as it's being killed. We know that when a being experiences fear, the hormones of cortisol and adrenaline are released into its body. They affect that being by putting the body in stress and breaking down bodily functions. The hormones of cortisol and adrenaline remain in the deceased body, and so when the animal is consumed, its experience energetically becomes part of the consumer. In our hearts, we all know that hurting other creatures is wrong, and that all life should be respected. Spiritually is not an abstract thing, divorced from our everyday actions. Someone cannot claim to love all beings through spiritual connection, and then go on to kill and eat the very same beings they claim to love. When our beliefs and actions are not aligned, it creates disharmony. Practicing veganism means rejecting all forms of abuse and suffering, thus truly aligning our actions with our beliefs. A lifestyle which causes minimal harm to animals ultimately benefits everyone and everything else on this earth, because everything is connected. Whether your perspective is rational, spiritual, or a bit of both, it simply makes sense to be vegan. It is important to note that plants are also considered as sentient. However, as plants do not have a central nervous system, which is necessary for pain perception and self-awareness, it is unlikely that they can experience self-awareness and pain like human and animal beings. It is worth noting that plants can reproduce asexually, which shows that they are not singular, conscious beings in the sense animal and human beings are. Plants also generally tend to reproduce via fruit seeding, aided by their conception by animal and human beings. Another important point to make is there is also no necessity to kill most plants or trees in order to eat from them. Picking ripe fruit from a plant or tree will not kill that said plant or tree, but actually aid it to thrive. For this reason, it could be argued that the most optimal foods for humans to consume are plant-based foods that bear fruit and seed. With this in mind, A predominant fruit-based diet is optimal for human beings to thrive mentally, physically, and spiritually. Humans who follow this type of cultural eating are known as fruitarians. Fruitarians will only consume foods from plants that are for that purpose, like fruits, beans, grains, and nuts. If our conscious beliefs and ideals observe and honor sentience or consciousness within plants, then the fruitarian way of life is what we should be aspiring to. However, veganism is a good place to start, as it evidently protects and nurtures both plants and animals, as fewer plants will need to be consumed to feed the animals that humans then consume. When we eat something, it not only affects us on all levels of our existence, but it also literally becomes us. We are indeed what we eat. Since those bodies are formed essentially from the food we eat, they will be conditioned by and function according to the kind of energy extracted from the food. When the energies within us are positive, they produce harmonious states of mind and behavior. But when the energies are negative, they move in a random and chaotic manner and produce negative states of mind and, consequently, negative behavior. Moreover, these toxic energies can also manifest as physical illnesses or defects. They put ourselves out of ease, creating what we know as dis-ease. Substances that are toxic to the body, such as animal flesh and liquids, alcohol, nicotine, and processed drugs, are toxic on the inner levels of a human being. Ingestion of these toxins poisons all of our bodies to inserting negative energies, which are going to manifest as some form of disease. On the other hand, fruits, vegetables, and grains are reservoirs of pure photonic light energy, which are nourishing and life-sustaining energies. These energies are easily assimilated into all our bodies and made to take on our specific, unique, optimal vibrations and frequencies for us to thrive as humans. When we eat food, the nutrients are used to build new cells. The food becomes us, and so we literally are what we eat. We can choose what we want our bodies to be made of: nutritious plant foods or the body parts of other beings. It's a choice between life and death, not just for animals, but for the earth, ourselves, and other people. Animal energies were never meant for higher consciousness. They are lower conscious beings, but conscious nonetheless at varying degrees. Consequently, animals cannot be attuned to anything beyond the most mundane perceptions. And so, here is where we find the connection and difference between human beings and animal beings. However, the energies contained within fruits, vegetables, and grains are subtle energies of light which can easily assimilate into the human spectrum of frequency. The human physical body can easily digest the nutrients of plants. The biomagnetic soul body can easily assimilate the biophotonic lights of the plants, and the human conscious mind uses the plant's energy as a connective channel to the most optimal states of human health and well-being. Furthermore, any substances that the body absorbs, consumes, or ingests has a direct effect on the welfare of the soul's evolutionary health. Whilst processed substances, synthetic chemicals, and pharmaceutical drugs may temporarily sustain the temporal physical body, they certainly have long-term negative effects on the soul's spiritual evolutionary essence. Whereas natural substances are naturally beneficial for the soul's spiritual essence. This is the premise behind our spiritual tenets and laws of natural living.